went to see this girl of mine one winter afternoon. She had gone out walking, they informed me very soon. They said she'd strolled away to where they could not say. So I started out to find her in the snow.
Flights have been booked, reservations, well, what reservations? We are all too ready to get down to Tortola. Team Love Pelican is hot off the Iceland trip and ready to take out their cameras again to cover the BVI Spring Regatta on Nanny Key. Come thaw out with us at the beginning of April. The only thing here that's cold is the beer. And while I have you down in the BVI, the Royal Ocean Racing Caribbean 600 began early this March out of St. John's. 66 of the world's most competitive offshore machines raced 600 miles, hence the name, around St. Kitts, Anguilla, Guadeloupe, Antigua, and Barbuda. Volvo Ocean Race and America's Cup vets could not underestimate the Corinthians, powering up boats from the modern day all the way back to classic yacht. Only a chopper could keep up with this fleet, seeing as it only took the leaders about a day of being trade wind blessed and 30-plus knot pummeled while traversing the 11 Caribbean islands on the course map. Lloyd Thornburg's MOD 70 Fido 3 won line honors with a speedy 1 day 9 hours and therefore broke the record previously set by 6 hours. George David traded in his Rambler 100 for a Rambler 88, designed by Juan K., and with it took the monohull line honor privilege. Overall, for the entire event, Hapfouth's American JV72 Bellamente was deemed champion, having the fastest corrected time under IRC. Impressive, considering they were also wholly man-powered without either movable or variable ballast. Congratulations to all of the competitors and to the winners of each division. And speaking of massive vessels covering great distances, the Volvo Ocean Race will always be able to one-up or two-up or three-up anyone who thinks they've floored their gas pedals on the ocean.
I wouldn't say that Malacca Strait's the best place I've ever sailed. There's tons of ships around and current, and we're dealing with transition between a land breeze and a sea breeze right now, which will reverse itself later in the day.
7 teams from around the world have been racing in new parts of the ocean, down ship-filled straits, and all ranges of wind to be greeted in new countries to the race. They are attracting a lot of attention. Miss World, for example, just couldn't stay away. And if Miss World was hanging out on my boat, I'd do exactly what the Dongfeng race team did from China. Send her up the rig.
So we are in Senya at the Volvo Ocean Race, and it is lovely for me to be here. It's my first time in China. And yes, it's an amazing experience, and I can now go back home and tell everybody that I've been on top of literally the world.
Team Dongfeng is dangling in second in a tie for first with Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, with a comfortable lead over Team Brunel and the tie for fourth behind them, and the women's team SCA in the back. Auckland to Brazil is an open water leg that is a bit more familiar to the boats and the fans, so we will see how things hold or grind in the upcoming weeks. A little bit of history on this event could do a body good. Sailor tested and mother approved, though I'm not sure my mother would let me sail around the world on any of the boats that started the Whitbread in 1973.
The grand old lady of the fleet, Peter von Danzig, built in Germany in 1936, and showing her age with low freeboard, tilted spinnaker pole and old-style fittings. There's no major collision as the yachts navigate through the vast armada of small spectator craft.
3,000 spectator boats showed up to send 17 boats to sail the Whitbread round-the-world yacht race that would last 27,500 nautical miles. The course they sailed mimicked the course that the old square riggers took to carry cargo around in the 19th century.
With the last of the spectators left over the horizon, the crew can fit into the ship's routine. Ocean sailing is not a series of traumatic dramas, rather a way of life with resourceful people able to cope with problems as they arise. In the tiny world of the boat, one has to learn to tolerate one's shipmates, confined in such cramped quarters for long periods. Bathtubs slide easily on the slippery wet teak as the boys discover an exciting new game, dodgems on the afterdeck. All the yachts are required to report their positions by radio each week. The focal point of each 24 hours run is the noon-to-noon position, and details are eagerly awaited by the crew.
In the 152 days it took the Mexican Swan 65, captained by Ramon Carlin, to win the race on corrected time, 4 ports were visited. Portsmouth, England for the start, Cape Town, South Africa, which has been a stop in every Whitbread and Volvo -2 times, Sydney, Australia, and Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The crew wasn't paid, the food was real, the communication was single sideband, the navigation was a sextant. Oh, how times have changed.
Aboard the Catch GB.
When performance counts, the choice is clear. North sails, better by design.
To make sure our T2PTV audience is well read, we bring you news from Asia and Australasia as well. Sebastian Deschanel has collected reports from around the world to show the world that sailing is happening wherever there are humans and flotation devices. People might call telltales ticklers down under, but they still do the amazing when they read The Invisible Wind. Invisible Wind, yeah, I know, maybe it's been winter too long, but T2PTV has been making waves nonetheless. 2 showings of their documentary about Cuba have played at the Boatyard Bar and Grill to hundreds of people. Look out for the future screenings and get your tickets early. January 2014. A scene familiar to many Americans in a place not too far from U.S. shores. Though we are not physically separated by much, the palm curtain certainly divides us with red tape and confusing laws. Cuba? I know. I thought Americans couldn't visit Cuba, period. There is so much smoke and mirrors surrounding that island that I'd been convinced that country was just a myth, and it wasn't even really there. It's still there. All 42,400 square miles of it, trapped in time. From the United States, there are no planes to fly there and obviously no roads to drive there. So the plan was to sail there from West Palm Beach, Florida. Director 40, crew of 4. Duncan Spencer, the owner of the boat.
I think the ocean is not a barrier, it's the most incredible road. There's only a few people that like to play on it, and I want to be one of them.
Dave Dunnigan, the navigator.
I stood at the kitchen and waited with the lady and the cook for that fork to come back because they weren't leaving and they weren't going to let me leave until they had that fork.
Tom Lippett, the fisherman.
Some rum right under there.
And me, Ashley Love, and several cameras to document the trip.
He wants to take a picture. Gentlemen, thank you for your trouble.
The places we saw and the people we met helped us achieve our goal, which was to see the real Cuba. We were tourists, most certainly, but there are several ways to be a tourist. For the rest of the adventure, we chose to integrate ourselves with the culture by speaking with locals, eating like locals, trying to talk like locals, and travel like locals. The only way to gain perspective in your own world is by walking in another's shoes. And that's exactly what we did. The Q&A sessions that transpired directly after the screenings started with a common theme. Everyone is wondering how to get to Cuba, and here, my friends, is the answer. Buddy Powell from Sea2shore Alliance is a marine life scientist and takes trips down to Cuba regularly, and he wants to bring you along legally. Please tell me about Sea2shore Alliance.
Well, Sea2shore Alliance is a small research and conservation organization, nonprofit, and what we're involved with is trying to protect highly endangered marine species like right whales, and manatees, and sea turtles. And one of the areas that we've been working for over a decade, and one of the very few groups that's been working down there, is along the coast of Cuba.
What's the next step for Sea2shore? What's the next trip?
Well, we're continuing to work down there, and we've been building our program working with the University of Havana to not only try to protect manatees, but also help to strengthen marine protected areas and working together with our Cuban colleagues. What we're also trying to do is to increase awareness and interest, because it is such a remarkable and beautiful place with regards to the coral reefs and marine environments, that we're trying to opening up opportunities for people to come down who have an interest in the ocean and animals, to go out with our scientists, both ourselves but also our Cuban scientists, to go out to the very field sites and to places where they normally would not be able to go. And so we're encouraging people to go down on some arranged trips we're trying to make.
Wow, that sounds very
exciting. It's fabulous. I mean, everybody I've taken down there are just blown away by, we have to rough it a little bit, but that's half the fun.
Visit sea2shore.org for more information.